Believe it or not, one of the questions I get asked the most often is, hey, is the Glock a good gun for self-defense? Yesterday, I had a message on Instagram. The guy was like, I've been a long time subscriber of the channel, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking about buying a Glock 17. You think that's a good choice? Dude, it is the only thing I've been recommending for decades. Yes, a Glock 17 9mm is a good choice. Oh, but I like the Glock 19 better. Buy the Glock 19. Glock 9mm, 17 or 19 is obviously the go-to answer for this question. The other question I get asked quite often is, hey, where can I buy your books? And I'm like, seriously? Every single one of my videos, I do this. I tell you that if you want to learn more about these topics, survival preparedness, you have surviving the economic collapse and street survival skills, and I explain that you have them in Amazon following the links below. In Amazon, the answer to this question is my books, you can buy them. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, I'm not joking. This is a question I get very often. Where can I buy them? Well, in Amazon, that would be a good place where I say literally in every one of my videos. Going back to the topic of this video, though, what about 22 Magnum? Yeah, because I get it, Glock, we got that. But I have this, and it's a valid question. Listen, not only is it about, oh, I want something that is not 9mm, or sometimes there's legal restrictions. I can only have something that's 22 caliber. And that's correct. This is indeed a 22 caliber handgun that you see in this picture. All right. So the topic of this video, what 22 Magnum choices do I have out there? How valid are they for self-defense? Are these good guns? What advice do you have in this regard? And as always, there's a couple things that I want to start with here. This is just the opinion I have based on what I know about firearms. I also need to clarify, just because someone had a good or bad experience with a gun, it does not mean that the entire population of said guns is the same. There's guns that there's manufacturers that have different reputations. Glock, for example, is maybe one of the best reputed gun manufacturers in the planet. Especially for handguns, Glock. It's hard to argue against that. It's like a Honda, right? You have a Honda where it's not exciting, it's not fun, but it's damn reliable. That's something that the company is known for. That does not mean you may not have a problem. There may be, I mean, you can have a Honda Civic and all of a sudden it had a problem. It is kind of rare, you know? It's one of those things that, no, boring ass car, but super reliable. Boring reliable even. Honda, right? Glock would be the same. What about Keltec? What about the Keltec, was the PMR 30, is this? Well, Keltec are affordable guns. They're really not all that expensive. They have some exciting designs, some interesting concepts, but it's also the case that every once in a while you find someone that has somewhat of a lemon. Oh, but I've had my Keltec for over 30 years and it never failed me once. Okay, that's just one sample. That is, your personal experience with said gun. It does not mean that it speaks for the reputation of the entire brand or the entire line of that specific model. Now, with this gun, you have several things going on. And in paper, it sounds fantastic. Look, it's 22 Magnum. 22 Magnum, it's quite a bit more powerful than 22 long rifle. Let me put those two side by side in case, you have these two, all right? So, and it's not interchangeable. You cannot fire the one on the other. Yes, there's revolvers that do that, but you need a different cylinder. I mean, you could put a long rifle in there, but it's really not recommended at all, and it's not designed that way. Unless the manufacturer says so, which, I don't know of anyone. Again, in revolvers, different cylinder, yeah, but not in a pistol. So, in paper, you have 30 rounds of something that is quite powerful, somewhat like a 38. Yeah, what's not to like about that? Well, let me explain what's not to like. First, you're looking at a gun that, the reputation is really not all that great. You do have some other choices. So you have your Smith & Wesson, right? Again, 30 round, 22 Magnum. And this is more of a better, not a better known brand, but Smith & Wesson, your M&P, and it's gonna be more. It's supposed to be more reliable. It is more reliable. You don't hear as many people having had bad experiences. So you're going to go on YouTube like I did. You're going to see people that shoot these things and they will have an opinion based on, hey, this is how it's worked for me. I think it was 22 Plankster that said he has his Keltec 22. He never had a problem. Okay, or had one malfunction in 1,000 runs. Okay, that's his experience. But then you go and read the comments, and you will see people that, I just turned it back, or I just got rid of it because it was always a pain in the ass. So just because someone has had a good experience does not mean that most people will have that too, or everyone will have that too. There are brands that have better reputation. There are guns that are built more reliably. And when you see this thing, the way it's put together, you can clearly see there's a difference with this. This is a gun. Now, the price is going to be different, but this is a gun that I would feel more comfortable if I'm counting on this for self-defense. Then you have guns like the Walther. This is a gun that has 15 rounds instead of 30. Do you really need 30 rounds? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But 15 rounds, I would feel fairly comfortable in terms of the capacity, and this definitely has a more, the grip clearly is more intended for a more ergonomic than this 2x4 format that you have here. This is pretty basic grip. This is a little bit better. So if you want something a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more ergonomic, and you don't care about having a few less rounds, by all means. Now, my question, I go back, why are you even going with this thing? Why are you, for self-defense? Dude, this thing has a pretty impressive fireball when you shoot it. It's not a 22 long rifle. And honestly, how much less recoil is there versus a 9mm? I would go with the 9mm. And if you really have some kind of strength disability of some kind, of work out, get stronger. I mean, you see my weights over there. Move those things, pick them up, do some routine of some kind, have some more physical strength. Oh, but I really have this medical. Okay, if that is something you have, honestly, maybe just go with a 22. Not the Magnum, just go with the 22 long rifle. Right? Go with something like this. This will not have the fireball. This really has very little recoil. This has a lot less muzzle blast, and these are very good guns. 10 round capacity, But honestly, this is like going back to how many rounds do you even need? Oh, it's not 9mm, so maybe I need more. Yeah, okay. You still have 10 rounds. You probably can still defend yourself quite well. And if we go by the numbers in the same manner that we have the number of 3-4 rounds average being used in self-defense, if we go by the numbers, there's pretty much no difference between defending yourself with a 22 or with a 9mm or a 44 Magnum. Says so statistics, not me. Statistics say that as far as it goes, if you shoot where it matters, center of mass, there's really not the margin of difference of one shot stop capability of the guy giving up the fight is far more likely as a psychological thing. And if it's not a psychological thing, you shoot him again. And maybe you shoot him a couple more times. Trust me, there's going to be a number of rounds that will get the job done. Now, that's not what I do. I go with 9mm. I go with a 357 Magnum. But the numbers don't lie. The statistics don't lie. That as long as it's a center of mass shot, 1 or 2 rounds of 22 are just as good as 9mm in pretty much a bunch of studies. The large one we saw from this guy that accumulated information for 20 years, a law enforcement officer, the numbers were that 22 was even better than 9mm. Now, I don't believe that for a second that if I have one round, just, this is going to be better because it has obviously a lot less power. But the idea of this being significantly better than this is simply not true, because even with a 44 Magnum, there's not a even with a 357 Magnum, even with 9mm, the statistics say that the difference is mostly like 90-something%. The difference is where you hit. If you hit where it matters, it works. If you don't hit where it matters, really a bigger caliber, bigger bullet will not make much of a difference. And you have this is one of the most reliable 22 pistols. Your Smith & Wesson SW22 Victory, super reliable. It's going to be more reliable. It's going to be more accurate than your Glock 44, which a lot of people think, okay, I want a 22 for self-defense, I will go with Glock. I don't know about that. I mean, it hasn't got like stellar reliability. It tends to be reliable, but it's nothing special. This is going to be more reliable. Maybe it's not thought of as for combat and whatnot, but man, if you really want to go for combat, go with a 9mm pistol. You're talking about something that is a lot less demanding in terms of physical strength. This is the gun that probably falls within that. Your Mark IV. Yeah, and it could be something like this, or it could be something like a little bit more like the 2245, a little bit more modern and compact and maybe more suited for that sort of thing. Now, if I'm going this way, I also have to throw into the equation, dude, I just go with a 10-round revolver. Really, if what I want is super reliability, being absolutely certain that every time I pull the trigger, it will go bang. If I have, certain incapacity in terms of physical strength, maybe this is exactly what I need. I will have those 10 rounds. It will very much fire when I pull the trigger. The chances of having any interruption are, very, very unlikely in a well-kept 22 Smith & Wesson revolver, and you have 10 rounds. Now, it's not going to be as quick to reload, but do you plan on reloading a heck of a lot of ammo in gunfights with your 22? Probably not. For someone that has some physical disability and can't handle recoil and still has the strength to pull the trigger on a double-action revolver, this would probably be what I go for. You really feel comfortable with the idea of a 22 Magnum? Maybe this is the one I would go for. You have 30 rounds. You have a lot of shots there. You won't need to do much reloading here, and it's a Smith & Wesson M&P. It's a pretty good choice. Not as cheap as your Kel-Tec, but yeah. And if you want something even a little bit more ergonomic and a little bit less, a little bit more comfortable, and you don't care about having a few lens rounds, there you go. Guys, that's going to be all for now. Again, if you want to learn more about this stuff, and remember, these are just tools. What really makes a difference is the knowledge that you have. Knowing how to detect threats, knowing how to avoid the fight, knowing how to improve your home security. A ton of that is right here in this book, 3 Survival Skills. You will have it, as I said before, in the links there below in Amazon. Take care. Have a great day.